Today I have a very special guest, Michael Oyenuga from Woxen University. And for those of you that follow the podcast, we actually had an episode maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago to discuss some of the findings of Michael's and his co-author's paper, which was about you put my name, I put your name, and this whole exploration about unethical practices in academic publishing. So Michael has kindly agreed to kind of have this conversation with me today. Thank you, Michael, for agreeing to this and for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Rodrigo. It's my pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, and thank you again. And as we were discussing just before we started, I mean this article, I think it got like global coverage. I was seeing it on LinkedIn from different academics in the US, in Europe, in Asia, and probably it is because it describes something that perhaps people have seen or have experienced. And I mean, I have seen and experienced this within my own kind of bubble here in the UK, and the fact that kind of it describes certain practices that people have seen or experienced before, and probably that's why it captured the attention of many academics around the world. So how do you feel? I mean, after this came out, what's the kind of attention that you received, and what inspired you to research this topic?
Yeah, thank you once again for having me, Rodrigo, and good evening from India. I mean, it's the attention was overwhelming. Honestly, it felt like a blockbuster movie. You know,
Yeah,
for those in Nollywood, you know, it was such an amazing attention, mails upon mails, calls from people, back in Nigeria, and just like you said, a lot of people that we didn't know, a lot of people that were never our contacts, even on LinkedIn, were sharing it, were posting it, a lot of reposts. And that particular article, when I posted it on LinkedIn, it got over 3,000 impressions. I mean,
yeah.
that was really amazing.
Yeah, you went
Well,
you went viral. You went viral, and I have the article here in front of me, and I think it's been downloaded over 5,000 times in less than a month, right? So,
yeah,
and for
yeah.
academic papers, sometimes, I mean, we publish things
And
and we are lucky,
nobody
right?
wants
If
to
we get
read.
like a few citations, right? So
Mhm.
I think this was very good. Congratulations for
Thank
leading
you
this
so
project.
much. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Rodrigo. And
So what inspired you then?
yeah, the phrase itself, "You put my name, I put your name," it's a phrase that resonates with an average Nigerian academic.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's one phrase that we use very often back in Nigeria. Of
Yeah.
course, the act itself, just like you've said, is something that is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. Okay, it's something that almost every university you go to, one or two people will have such an experience, and
Yeah.
different people call it different names. Okay, but in Nigeria, that is the phrase we use. Okay, I put your name, you put my name. So I just sat one day and I said, we can actually do something on this. Okay, using that phrase as it were, not changing anything, not rephrasing anything, just put that phrase as it were. Then we now look for how to make it robust and make it publishable. And that was
Yeah.
just how the concept came in. Then I called on my colleague. Um, First, it was Stella. Okay, Stella is now a postdoc. She's doing a postdoc in South Africa. So
Yeah.
she was the one I spoke to first. Said, "Hey, lady, I have this idea." That time she was still in Nigeria, so she understands what it is. Okay, I have this idea. We can actually do something. She said, "Oh, doc, yeah, that's fine." Then we started. Then Thomas came in. Then Jeresa came in, and we said, we can actually do this. So it was just a concept, for us. We just wanted to do something, just a normal research. We didn't expect that it will go viral this way. Honestly, we just wanted to do something, just a research, and then let's see how it goes. And then it is what it is now.
I think probably because as we discussed, it resonated with many people. I mean, you mentioned that this started with, okay, this is what we see in Nigeria, but as I said, I see similar things sometimes in the UK happening. I attend many international conferences as well, and I talk to people from all over the world, and you hear maybe all these conversations normally happen not publicly, I guess, but happen more in the corridors, in conferences, and all these kind of things. So you uncover all this practice, right? And speak about it, which is very interesting. Now, this podcast is mainly targeted at PhDs researchers, right? So people that are in the process of doing their PhDs. And something that I found quite interesting about your research is that obviously you're asking people to talk about things that are can be a bit contentious, right? That we don't feel comfortable speaking about that openly. How did you approach the kind of this, like this, the sampling? How did you build trust with your participants or your informants? Tell us more about this process, and was it
Thank you for that question. One thing that's really helped us in this research is the openness of the respondents. Okay, in as much as you want to give credit to the authors, we appreciate the reviewers, but the respondents did quite well opening up to us. Okay, and it wasn't rocket science, really. It was just about trust. It was just about anonymity, because we told them, yes, this is just for research purpose. Okay, so if I'm sure you've seen the paper, we didn't mention anybody, we didn't mention any university. So we kept to that rule, okay, of being anonymous, and we told them, yes, we were going to be anonymous. And apart from that, we didn't just jump into the ocean, because we know that we are going to be asking unconventional questions. We know that we know that we are going to be asking questions that will make them feel uncomfortable. So we started with some indirect questions, so we gained their trust. And once they begin to open up, there was no going back. Even though there were some of them that along the way they felt uncomfortable because they felt like they were speaking too much. They felt like they were exposing, issues. But we let them know that we are not police. Okay, we are just doing research. So whatever you say is going to be kept, okay, anonymous. And that was how we were able to uncover a lot of things regarding this research.
No, I guess that is where kind of ensuring the anonymity of the participants is so important, right? And that's why you made certain decisions. Now I want to speak more about the context, about this kind of publish or perish, right, which seems to be happening all over the academic universe. I mean, obviously, you're based in India at the moment, right?
Yes.
So and then the article mentions, like, in certain places there is like this kind of 2 or 3 year cycles where people need to kind of produce. In the UK, we have the research excellence framework, for example, that happens every 6 to 7 years. No, so these cycles appear, and even though in theory they are designed to ensure quality and productivity and help guide, there is this unintended consequence, right, of pressure towards academics. So what did your informant say, and what is your experience in terms of this context and systemic structures within academia for publishing?
So two things. I will be sharing my own experience
Okay.
as well as insights from our research, what our respondents said. So let me start from the last. The respondents, many of them were um, there was this kind of uniformity, okay, regarding the publish or perish syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
because the pressure is always there. If you are an academic, you would understand that yes, there is this pressure every time for you to publish. Okay, so that is how that acronym came in again. I mean, that phrase came in again, you publish or you perish. So because
Mm-hmm.
of this syndrome, okay, people who could not withstand that pressure now thought, okay, since I want to be here, I mean, this is what they want me to do, and I don't have the capacity to do it. Why not look for a way around it? Then put my name, I put your name, came in. Okay, so the pressure is a problem. For instance, in Nigeria, you get promotion every 3 years as an academic. Okay,
Yeah.
so within those 3 years, you are expected to publish a particular number of papers, depending on your universities. Anyway, okay, some of them will tell you it has to be scopus, some of them will tell you it has to be institutional based, some of them will tell you it has to be local based, and all those criteria. So
Yeah.
you find and of course you know that to publish a scopus in a scopus outlet, sometimes it takes more than 12 months. Okay. I mean, there are some journals that even your paper is there on the editor's table. 6 months, there is no feedback, whether it is rejected or not. Okay. So
Yeah.
that pressure is always there for people to publish. And because of that, people look for a way around it, even though it is unethical. Just like we found out, yes, majority of our respondents know that this thing is unethical, but I mean, they can't help themselves. So they, because that is what the system wants, then they go for it, and then they look for what to do, pay money or whatever, and then they get themselves listed as an author when they've not contributed anything. Now, in,
Mm-hmm.
in my own experience, I think universities need to watch the way they pressure us as academic. Okay,
Yeah.
I've worked in different universities, and it is the same everywhere. Unfortunately, it is the same everywhere. Okay, you are expected to publish. In fact, some people would tell you have to give reports of what you are working on. Okay, the research paper you're working on, you have to give reports every week. Okay, so I
Yeah.
mean that is not minding the
So the
fact that
amount the amount of pressure is great,
exactly
no?
is
So
great.
it's yeah. Yeah.
Is great. So and that is not to I mean that is not to say that you will be exempted from classes. No, you still have to go to class to teach. You still I mean your family is there to take care of, and administrative work is there. Yet the pressure does not in any way reduce. Instead, you are kept under constant pressure to
Yeah.
publish.
Yeah, no, definitely. So there is like this institutional pressure, right? From
Yeah.
and I think this is like a common theme. I mean, I have colleagues and co-authors all over the world, and this is an ongoing theme. You mentioned journals, and then the journals, how sometimes they take all this time and all that, and also in the article, some of your participants mentioned these processing fees, right? The
Mm,
the article processing fees. And
mm,
I found that super interesting because I could see how there are like certain universities, and indeed where I work, for example, we have a lot of agreements with journals, with many publishing journals and companies. So if we publish, if someone from Reading University is either first or corresponding author, then these agreements take place, right? And then we
mm,
can get this open access thing and all that. And I can see how, on the one hand, that is good because we're trying to have like research that is not behind paid walls and all that, but
mm.
also this can generate mechanisms where people that are at these universities might say, look, my
I
university
have
has this
funded.
agreement,
Yeah,
so you put me there, and
yeah,
then we'll get open access, no? So that
yeah,
can be like a double-edged sword.
yeah,
Was that
yeah.
something that also was commented or appeared on in your findings or you have seen?
Yeah, in our findings, because our participants were mainly from Nigeria, okay, and this kind of arrangements does not actually favor some universities or most universities in the global south,
That is
particularly
correct.
in the
Yeah.
Nigerian context. Okay, a lot of publishing houses will go to arrangement, this kind of arrangement you've mentioned, okay, with major universities in the global north, for instance. That is not to say that some universities don't have this kind of arrangement in Africa, but I'm not sure, okay, at least all the participants we interviewed, none of them, okay, mentioned that they had this kind of arrangement in their universities. And you could understand why, okay, because not many universities are so much, okay, are research oriented, so to say, impactful research, so to say. And so you have the problem of APC. Okay, I mean, I give you an instance. When I came to India in 2023, the first paper I published, I worked with these authors, and then it was time for us to pay. And they said, yes, your contribution. I told them, hey, I don't have money to pay. I mean, as at that time, we were to pay $1,500,
Yeah.
okay, for a Q2 outlet. And I said, I'm sorry, I was new on my job, so I've not
Yeah.
started earning money, so there was no way I could pay. And they understood with me because, I mean, we worked together to have that paper accepted. They said, okay, no problem. We understand you, Michael. So we'll pay and then we'll get it published. So the problem of APC is a major thing that our participants highlighted. And for a lecturer in Nigerian university, for instance, who has a meager pay, okay, and considering other things, you know, family, children, these, that, I mean, how do you expect them to pay APC? So what happens is you see these guys have the work, okay, and then they look for somebody who is ready to foot the bill. And
Yeah.
because you're ready to foot the bill, you become an author automatically.
A
Okay.
co-author. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that is not scholarly. Okay.
Yeah.
But they have no choice. Okay. I mean, you have the yam, but you don't have the knife. Okay. So I have the knife. So automatically I should be a part of the yam. And that is how these things operate. So that is one fundamental problem, okay, why this I put my name, you put your name thing happens. And of course, in my own experience too, while I was in Nigeria, I've had instances like this, okay, where work is finished and somebody will just approach you and say, hey, I have the money. I say, no, this is not about money. Okay, this is about you contributing. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's about you wanting to say no. But the truth is, how many people will want to say no because you want
Yeah.
your work published? You want
Yeah.
your
You want
work
your
published.
published. You want that
You want it
promotion.
open
You want to.
access.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you want it
exactly.
open access. You want promotion. So you just give in. And you know, the funny thing is, some of these people who have the money but they do not contribute to the work still want to be the first author.
Really. Yeah.
Yes, they
That's
want to be the
crazy.
first
Yeah.
author
Yeah.
because they are giving you the money. And
Yeah.
so
I,
researchers are
I
just helpless in this regard.
yeah. I guess journals are trying maybe to address this. I've seen more journals introducing these like credit roles, no? That they say,
Yeah,
what did you
yeah.
actually do? Like, did
Mm,
you were you
mm,
involved in conceptualization, or did
mm,
you just bring funding and all that,
mm,
right? Which maybe
mm.
that, but I guess people might be pressure, right, to say, okay, this person
Yeah,
actually didn't just bring the money,
yeah,
but
yeah.
also they brought more things, right? Or
Mm,
or because oftentimes the person that has the agreement is the one that needs to submit. They are the ones that can control what's kind of allocation
yeah.
is being disclosed to the journals,
Mm,
right? So
mm.
so yeah. Um, what you mentioned about this kind of junior and more senior academics, right?
Mm, mm,
As I said, this podcast is mainly aimed at PhD researchers or people that are considering doing a PhD. Um, what would be your advice for like someone who is a PhD student, PhD researcher, and they see this happening, or their supervisor or someone else, like this superstar professor that at a conference says, hey, this is actually quite an interesting piece of work. Why don't we do it, right? And all that. What did you come up with? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot here, but did you come
Yeah,
up with any?
yeah. I mean, our research actually found out some of this kind of scenario. I think some of our respondents mentioned that while they were doing their MSc or even PhD, they had these issues with their supervisor. Okay, I mean, supervisors are there to provide guidance. That's what the role is. So when you have one of your mentees who is doing something and approaches you to say, okay, I need your guidance on this and that's that. Yeah, you're just doing your role. Okay. But coercing that person to include you as an author is unethical. And not just being an author, some supervisors will also want to be first author. Okay,
Yeah,
we have instances. Some of our respondents said yes. They even submitted their work to the supervisor to provide feedback, and before you know it, the work is there in a journal without their consent. Okay,
yeah,
yeah. I mean that was one of what was. I think two of our respondents mentioned this kind of case. Okay,
mm,
so I mean, so my advice will be that it is something that is very dangerous for your reputation as a supervisor to indulge in these kind of things. Because if you have a PhD scholar who knows his onions and decides to call you out, that is a problem.
yeah,
But for PhD scholars, okay, my advice will be that yes, you can't. You sometimes you may not want to sideline your supervisor, but you need to have an agreement. If your supervisor is kind enough to say, don't worry, I'll just provide guidance, you go and publish, that's fine. But in some situations, the supervisor will take offense if you publish a work without including him or her. The supervisor picks offense, and that can stall your progress
yeah,
as a, as a PhD scholar, especially if the supervisor is a first supervisor. Okay,
mm,
so the advice will be just pipe low. Okay, you have a work you are doing, yes, your supervisor is guiding you, yes, but the supervisor does not have the right to be the first author. It is your work, is providing guidance, is doing, I mean, somebody else has provided guidance for him or her too in the past. So it is a kind of just doing what he or she is supposed to do. But
yeah,
while the work is going on, let there be an understanding between the two of you. There should be no coercion. There should be nothing like hierarchical authorship, like one of our, like what we mentioned in our work, to say, okay, yes, because I'm the boss, because I'm the supervisor, I must be part of it. No, that should not be the case. That is unethical. But there should be understanding between the two people. Okay, I mean, a PhD student is an adult, so you can have this adult conversation to say, yes, sir, ma, you are providing this guidance. I think you should be a part. And being a part is also an honor for the supervisor and the student, because there are some journals. Okay, I think that is one of the problems again with some of these outlets. Uh, when you send your work to them and they see your name as just a PhD scholar, sometimes the editor does not think your work is good enough. Okay,
hmm,
so your supervisor being there also gives you some kind of credibility to say, yes, I mean, this work can pass
yeah.
the
We
test.
recognize this name, or
Yeah,
this name
we
has
recognize
worked on this.
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's a win-win situation, but it shouldn't be by force. That is what should be established ab initio when the work
yeah.
is going.
Yeah, no, this is great advice. But while you were saying it, I was maybe thinking, well, it's easier said than done,
That
right?
done.
Because at the end of the day, there is like power dynamics, isn't it? There
Mm,
is this power dynamic. The
mm,
supervisor might be the head of department, or maybe can
mm,
help secure other opportunities. But yeah, definitely, I think that yeah, having this discussion early on, or I normally say when I involve in any projects, like, okay, this is how we are going to, at least the kind of the order of authors, or this is how
mm.
this is going to be distributed, and as early as possible, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you that it's a bit strange if the supervisor goes first on the student's work. Although I've heard that this depends really on the cultural context. I've heard that in certain countries that is kind of the norm, and that's kind of normal. I think in the UK it's normally not. But and that's why maybe I have the views that I have, that no, it should be the student goes first, you know, because it's their work and all that. But yeah, there's lots of horror stories in Facebook groups and Reddit and all that. Anyways, Michael, I think the time is up for today's episode. Thank you so much for today's discussion and for
My pleasure.
making the time to expand on this topic. I really hope that this research goes very far. What is the next? Is there like a follow-up study, or are you going to carry on this line
Uh,
of research? Or
well, we are something else, okay, because the work has a section for further research where we can actually delve deeper into some quantitative work, okay, using smart PLS for some analysis. Yeah, so we'll think about it. For now, we are not thinking that direction. We are still enjoying the momentum, you know.
good.
But we never can tell. I mean, it's a work that has so much in it, and we can dig deeper into it in the nearest future. But for now, that is not on our mind.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, Rodrigo. Bye for now.